Welcome back. It seems more and more software is defining how good a vehicle is. And the startups seem to understand this a little bit more than the existing brands. And they're developing all of their software in-house, so they have more control over over-the-air updates and just generally how well the system works. One such company is Rivian. And I own a Rivian R1S that in the last 5 weeks got 2 major over-the-air software updates that actually affect how well the vehicle drives. We're not just talking infotainment stuff here. Actually, how the vehicle performs on the road is now being adjusted through over-the-air software updates. So I reached out to Rivian and I asked them if I could speak with one of their software experts to talk a little bit about how software is defining the vehicles more and more. And they provided me with Wassym Bensaid, who is the Vice President of Software Operations. I have that interview coming up as well as some of my thoughts on the topic. Stay right where you are. You're not going to want to miss this one. So a little more than a month ago, Rivian pushed out 2023.34.0 as an over-the-air update, and it dramatically improved the suspension, which got me really thinking about this because, I mean, that's such an integral part of how the vehicle dynamics and the driving experience is, and that they can manipulate all that through an over-the-air update. That's pretty amazing. So I really spent some time in the vehicle driving it because honestly, the suspension was one of the things I wasn't thrilled with. The ride quality, particularly in regular normal driving mode, really wasn't up to where I think it should be for a premium SUV. Now, my Rivian R1S, I used to own the R1T, and I think I was a little bit more forgiving of it in the pickup truck. But with the R1S, I expected a little bit of a softer, plush ride, and I actually think the driving experience was a little bit better in my R1T. The R1S with its shorter wheelbase seemed like it was a little bit more harsh going over bumps, and I wasn't the only one that felt that way. My wife, Meredith, actually didn't like driving the R1S as much as some of our other vehicles. I have the Ford F-150 Lightning, which I'm shocked because it's such a big vehicle. I didn't think she'd want to drive that at all, but it has such a nice soft suspension. She actually enjoys driving the Lightning more than the R1S. And she cites the fact that it's very harsh. She can feel every bump that she goes over when she's driving the R1S. But now with this software update, I wouldn't say it has completely eliminated the harshness, but it is much improved to the point where she even pointed out to me, and she doesn't typically notice every little minor detail in our vehicles like I do. I'm kind of really in tune with that. It's what I do for a living. But she noticed it immediately and said, yeah, it's definitely better than it was before. And she appreciates that update. So do I. But I was just so surprised that such type of a driving dynamics could be manipulated so much through over-the-air updates. And now, just this week, Rivian pushed out another update, 2023.38.0, that has multiple improvements. The first of which being towing improvements. There's a new trailers tab that allows you to create 3 different towing profiles, and I haven't been able to use that yet. I really don't do a lot of towing, but I know a lot of people do, and from the people that I've talked to in some of the forums where they're discussing it, it seems like something that people would appreciate. So that was good on. The second thing that I noticed is this new reimagined driver mode screen, which I think is a huge improvement over the previous version. You now get things like the battery temperature, which is really important for electric vehicles for you to understand what's going on with your vehicle, and motor temperature. And I have the quad motor R1S, and it gives you individual motor temperature for each of your 4 motors. I'm assuming with the dual motor versions, you'd get that for the 2 motors. But that's really important and useful information. You can see what's going on with the vehicle, and the temperature of your drive unit is really important. You also have some various bug fixes in this latest OTA update, which always happens whenever there's an over-the-air update. They always seem to fix a few minor bugs in all the vehicles. I've had Teslas. The Lightning has over-the-air updates, and both of my Rivians. But there's some major improvements in the vehicle with these OTA updates. So I thought it'd be a good idea to talk to Rivian about this and maybe get a little insight into why these over-the-air updates are so important to the company and why they've decided to develop their own in-house software stack. instead of sourcing it out to third-party vendors, which is what most of the existing brands out there today do. So now let's jump over to the interview with Wassym and see what he has to say about this topic. This video, as well as all of the videos here on State of Charge, is sponsored by Qmerit. Once I've helped you decide which electric vehicle charger you're going to buy, then follow the link in the description of my videos and have Qmerit install it. So we're here today with Wassym Bensaid, the Vice President of Software Development for Rivian. Wassym, thanks for coming on. Could you tell us a little bit about what that means to be the Vice President of Software Development for Rivian?
It's the best job in the world. So I have the chance of leading the software team at Rivian. So everything that runs on the vehicle and the cloud as well is managed by my team. So we are in charge of the different updates that our customers are receiving, which are making the vehicle better and better every month.
Yeah, and lately we've seen a lot on that front. Now, I've owned two Rivians. I had an R1T for a year. I sold that when my R1S reservation came in, and I now drive the R1S. And I've gotten two software updates in like the last 5 weeks. Let's first talk about the first one, 2023.34.0, which made a pretty dramatic improvement for the ride quality of the vehicle. And that's one thing I wasn't thrilled with my Rivian experience. Actually, even more than me, my wife always complained that it kind of was too stiff. And I always said, well, this is a adventure vehicle. This isn't, a Mercedes. This is meant to go off-road. Maybe we're not using it the right way, but she always complained she felt every little bump. And she was the first one to comment that she said, wow, it really drives better now. And what's amazing to me is you could adjust such a core element of the vehicle through an OTA software update. That's just nuts. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, let's talk about the magic behind the scenes. So I think fundamentally this is, we made an intentional choice at Rivian to own our entire technology vertical stack and really build that from the ground up since day one. So everything related to our electronics, our software is developed in-house. And that provides us with lots of flexibility to basically push really the boundaries of innovation. In this particular case, we have a fantastic suspension system in the R1 vehicle. The adaptive air suspension is awesome. And we did not really get the results that we wanted, especially on the R1S. The team, we went to analyze basically how can we make it better. And in the past 3 or 4 months, we really went with the first principle approach to figure out, okay, how can we take benefit to re-architect completely the algorithm with which we manage the suspension. And that's really what we came up with. I mean, I can't give you a lot of the secret sauce there because it's actually something that we're in the process of patenting with the team. But this is really pushing things to an extreme in terms of the dynamic suspension, being able to detect the small bumps versus the big bumps, having a dynamic behavior when you are at low speed versus when you are at high speed, and basically package all that magic through software. And we were really thrilled to see the reaction from our customers. It really meant a lot for us. And see that excitement and how we can make a difference in the overall experience.
And you have, I monitor the forums and online, and most of the people have commented that they notice a difference. Where I live here in northern New Jersey, there's a lot of gravel roads, bumpy roads. I live in a rural part of the state, and it really makes a difference. So kudos to you on that. But how far? What can't you do with software? It wasn't too long ago that OTA update was, adding a fart noise to the car, and like it wasn't adjusting such an integral part of the vehicle, the driving dynamics. What can't you do? Like, is there a limit on what software is going to do in 4 or 5 years? Is it just the whole cars are going to be controlled by software and you're going to be able to adjust things on the fly?
Uh, I think probably the answer is yes. I mean, some people call this software-defined vehicles. I don't necessarily like that term very much, but I mean, the reality in our case is every single interaction in the vehicle, every actuation is now managed through electronics and software. And on one hand, that's a challenge. On the other hand, it's a fantastic opportunity when you have the talent and when you know how to do that. I mean, we can not only change the infotainment system or the connectivity system to add some games or as you mentioned, some fart noise, even though we're not really into that. But we can change the body controls. We can change the energy management. We can change the thermal management. We can change the driving dynamics. We can change the autonomy systems. And this is really those deep quality of life improvements that we can do step by step in the entire vehicle. I mean, the beauty of all of this, I mean, when you take it with a company like ours, I mean, RJ talked publicly about the R2, and like I'm super excited with that vehicle. I think it will be awesome. But the way we're designing the R2 now is a lot of it is around software. So we're making sure that since day one, the architecture of the vehicle really allows us to have that entire control on the experience and that ability to be able to continue to change it and improve it over time, which is extremely powerful for us because this will set us up for success with our customers.
Okay, so now I know Rivian developed its own software stack in house, and the interesting thing is one of the first times I heard a company really talking about that was about 4 years ago. I was in China with Xpeng Motors, and they developed their own in-house software stack. And when I went over there and I was talking to the top management in the company, they gave me access to. I mean, it was really a fantastic trip that I went over there. I talked to all their high level managers. All they kept talking about was how important it was and how integral and how they wouldn't even have a company if they didn't develop their own in-house software stack, and that they're surprised that other companies aren't doing it. And I was asking them, well, you know, it's the first time I really heard people put such stress on that. And they talked about how in coming years, software was going to be, there's going to be so many software updates, how it's going to control everything. And they said, if you don't control your own software, if it's not your own in-house software stack, you're at the mercy of your suppliers, and they just don't work fast enough. They said you tell them you need something, and it's 4 months for them to do it, and then it has to get tested before it gets released, and it just seems like you never get what you need. And by the time they actually produce it, you wanted to start the next phase of things. Now I notice you guys are pushing out software updates really quickly. Talk about why it was so important for Rivian. I kind of explained it here, but your take on why developing your own software stack was so important, why you couldn't rely on, say, suppliers to do this for you.
I think your description is absolutely spot on. I mean, the reality today is with especially like when you take trends such as electrification, connectivity, autonomy, the amount of lines of codes of software in a vehicle is absolutely fascinating. I mean, it's everything pretty much is run by software. And if you're still following the traditional model where you go through tier ones and you go through suppliers, you end up with a huge amount of complexity. Because basically, even to manage simple changes, you need to coordinate multiple suppliers at the same time. And I'll give you, just a small example. I mean, you have an R1. When you walk into the R1, you basically have that nice animation sequence. The doors will open, and then basically you get into the vehicle, and then your profile will be detected, and then the seats and the steering wheel will change from a position standpoint. It's a super, like to some extent, simple sequence. It's just 30 seconds. The reality is behind the scenes, what's happening from a software standpoint. In a traditional model, that would have required probably the coordination of 10 different ECU suppliers, because you need to coordinate the vehicle access algorithm, you need to coordinate the security authentication algorithm, you need to coordinate the lighting sequence and the lamp supplier, you need to coordinate how the door handles would open, you need to make the connection between the vehicle and the cloud to, based on the authenticated device, you basically pull the right profile for the customer. You need to make the connection between the infotainment system and then basically the body control system in terms of the steering wheel and the seat, and manage that movement. And just such simple sequence, this is basically 10 different ECUs. The way we have done that internally, all those teams are at Rivian. And that allows us to basically iterate. We changed that sequence probably 10, 20 times. I mean, RJ did not like it initially, and then we had to iterate, and we came up with different ideas, and it changed at the last minute, and we had some feedback from our customers, and we ended up improving that over time. But because we have the talent, because we have basically the control over the entire stack, we're able to propose such meaningful changes. In a traditional world, that would have meant basically make an RFP with 10 suppliers, uh, spend your time to basically put together detailed Excel spreadsheets, have very detailed requirements, then put your team in front of your supplier management team in front of tier ones, and basically have multiple calls and meetings with these different suppliers, try to coordinate with them. Then they go back to you, they will give you a big invoice, and then they will come back after probably 6 months, and then you start integrating the pieces together, and guess what, it doesn't necessarily work because your requirements are not perfect. So then you have another iteration loop to go back to the suppliers, and it's super, super, super slow. And given the high bar now in terms of the overall experience, I honestly, to your statement, like I don't see another model in the electrified and highly connected world than owning that entire stack and that entire experience.
Yeah, I mean that's just what I heard from Xpeng, and they were kind of surprised that some of the existing brands that have been out there a long time haven't moved that quickly. That's was kind of the impression I got, and it seems like the startups, Tesla, Xpeng's a startup in China, Rivian, are from day one are realizing how important this is, and the existing brands that have been out there. I don't really call them legacy brands. They don't like to be called that. They're kind of like big cruise ships that move slowly. You guys are little speedboats that can make these sharp turns and make decisions. And the industry is going to have to get on board with this. Your competitors are going to have to develop their own in-house software stack, or, customers are going to leave the brands. That's people are more and more relying on the software as defining the vehicle. It really is. Than where it was, not only a few years ago, it was such a small role in the driving experience software. Now it's becoming, especially now what you could see, just like how you were able to manipulate the driving experience by, how the vehicle handles the whole driving dynamics with an over-the-air update. It's still, I'm in the industry and I'm still surprised by it. But okay, that was the update that came out in September. Let's talk a little bit about the one that is just released now. And that's crazy. Two big software updates within like 4 or 5 weeks of each other. I'm talking about 2023.38.0 just released. The one thing that I noticed immediately was a redesigned drive mode screen. That may not be as groundbreaking as the suspension changes manipulation you made with the last update, but I like it. And I love the fact that you're giving us more information. I love to see temperature, battery temperature, motor temperature. It's important with electric vehicles. I'm surprised more manufacturers aren't putting it out there. So the new drive screen on the R1 vehicles has a compass. It has elevation listed, the trip gauge. It has the motor temperature and all individual modes. I have the quad motor, so I have 4 different temperature gauges, one for each motor. It's got the battery temperature. It's all packaged really nicely. Did you just decide to do this? Was it customer feedback? Do you guys do focus groups? How did you come to the conclusion that you needed to have a better driver mode screen? Only, a couple of years after you launched.
Yeah, I mean, this one I'm actually super excited with it. I mean, I really love this update. It's been a long process where we got lots of feedback from our customers. I mean, obviously the you know that the R1T and the R1S are amazing machines, right? I mean, the range of dynamic capabilities, the fact that actually through software you can configure the vehicle from being your best sports car to your most capable off-road vehicle. I mean, that's absolutely fascinating every day. And we knew that uh, we had to do better in terms of the drive mode app. We got feedback. I think our friends at Motor Trend have been super vocal about how some of the controls are basically at the far right of the vehicle. We First of all, we redesigned the app so that it's much more ergonomic. It's easier to access. We did a long series of testing, whether it's on road, off road, so that we really optimize the touch zone. We do it in a way where even if you are in the most challenging situations while off road, you can still basically have easy access to the different options. And we introduced some really nice gestures like the swipe gesture. Now on the content, I mean, we're lucky because the customers who have Rivians, I mean, they love their vehicles and they love the data of from their vehicles. So we did it in a way where we have this gauge view or widgets view, and then we have also the swipe gesture so that okay, if we have people who don't want to be overwhelmed by all these data, they can still, I mean, not see them. But I mean, you mentioned some of the gauges that we currently have. I mean, this is just the start. And I think the way we see it is we want our customers to enjoy those data and we're here for feedback. I mean, I'm sure the next request will be okay, give us more data, and then two, okay, I want to see different type of data in each of the modes. And I know that we're getting ready for it. At some point, I think we will end up proposing a way to customize that view so that it really becomes optimized for each driver experience.
Okay, well, while we're talking about suggestions, I'll throw one out there. I'd love to
All
see
right.
more data, more charging data. I'd love to see the charging curve, DC fast charging curve on a screen. So as you're do your charging session, you could see the amount of power it was taking in through the whole charging session. And I think that's really important for to teach customers, have them learn how DC fast charging works, how it's not a linear charging curve like AC charging typically is. And I think if customers got used to seeing that, then they would be able to tell when there was a problem, when the DC fast charger, say, wasn't delivering what they could deliver. Because just showing the number, the power that it's coming, you forget like what state of charge is it at? What should I be taking in? But if they could see the charging curve up on that center screen, I think that'd be very helpful, and I'd appreciate it because I do a lot of charging analysis, and it would save me some work.
Tom, I'll give you a scoop. So we'll get you that in Q1. We're working on it.
Oh, awesome.
Uh,
Yep.
that will really answer your feedback here. And I completely agree. I think, and we see this part of our role as a new EV player, which is to educate our customers of what does it mean to use an EV, and what does it like? What do you expect when charging? How your charge curve looks like, how your energy loss looks like. How can we coach basically our drivers to have a more efficient driving experience? What are really the variables impacting their efficiency? So we really have a cool application coming next year. I mean, I'll make sure that you're part of the beta
Oh,
testing.
that'd be
So
awesome. Thank you. So, and one thing that you mentioned quickly about energy loss, one of the improvements in the software update also reduces the amount of energy loss. I think when you have the the system turned off, the camp guard kitchen, the gear guard turned off at home,
you're good.
there was some vampire, all electric vehicles suffer some level of say vampire drains, but Rivians seem to have a little bit more difficulty with it than some of the other vehicles. But this software update limits that. It reduces it by, was it 35% or something? I forget. There was a good number that it's reduced by.
It's 35%.
Okay.
You're absolutely right, and this has been really a long series of optimizations. I mean, honestly, the easiest option for us would have been to completely shut down the entire system, but that's not the connected experience that we want. I mean, with features where you want to have usage of your mobile app, you want to be able to precondition your vehicle, you want to be able to remotely see what's happening on your vehicle, you want to be able to have security and safety features such as basically gear guard. Uh, it took us basically time to find the right trade-offs and basically optimize the overall vehicle consumption, and making sure that at the same time, when we wake up the vehicle, you don't really see a difference. And you see it on the Rivian, you don't realize that we're actually restarting the entire stack, and all the ECUs are waking up when the user is approaching their vehicle. Some of these optimizations, I mean, we integrated them in incrementally, and you're absolutely right. The latest update really gives one of the latest breakthroughs, and it's allowing us now to have more than 35 percent optimization. We're now honestly really comfortable with the level of basically range loss overnight. You can even push it further if you put the vehicle in shipping mode, for example, if you're at the airport, and then you have the choice as a user. If you want to activate gear guard, you have a small penalty, but I think both are now acceptable.
Yeah, and I understand how that works with the shipping mode, but I also think it should be made simpler, and people shouldn't have to put it into a shipping mode and do all this stuff when they go to the airport. You've got to, I think, present that a little bit cleaner, so that people understand how they can reduce that drain when they are, let's say, going to the airport or parking the vehicle for a long time. I think you do a little bit on that and make that a little bit better. But that's my my
Yeah, yeah,
unsolicited advice.
you're absolutely right. I mean, the two next improvements we're thinking about is one, allow users to remotely configure that. Let's say, okay, you parked your car at the airport, you forgot to put it in, say, shipping mode. From the mobile app, you will be able to put it in that mode. Two, also, we're working on a much smarter algorithm so that if we detect that you're at the airport or you're at the parking place for a number of consecutive hours, then we can go even to a deeper, basically low power mode. So
Okay.
working on it.
All right. Listen. One last question. So, when you develop the vehicles, are they designed with enough headroom to support, say, future generations of software and hardware? Are you maxed out with where you are now? Are you using everything that you have? Talk a little bit about how you've designed the vehicles to be able to take on what comes in the future that maybe we don't know about and maybe you're working on at this point.
More to come. So I think our philosophy, what we love to say is we ship vehicles with the headroom. So our hardware is actually capable of more. We have more into the vehicle in terms of memory, in terms of graphics, in terms of overall resources, and we sized the system in a way where we will continue doing some of these updates to our customers. So more to come.
Okay, I said that was one last question, but I'm going to hit with one last question. Is there a goal of like how many updates you want to push over-the-air updates per year? Like we need to be pushing out 4 over-the-air updates per year, or is it just dependent on what you see you need to improve upon and how long it takes? Goal or no goal?
We have a goal for our internal development cadence, because part of this is also making sure, I mean, there's a number of parameters that we're trying to optimize.
Okay.
Sorry, it cut for some reason. So one of them is the development agility. 2 is basically the quality control. So we want to make sure that there's enough testing, the rollouts are staggered in a way where what we release to our customers is something that improves from a build to the other. So the sweet spot that we settled on is monthly updates, with, in some cases, some exceptions for all sorts of reasons, which could be either some really great features that we want to get earlier, or any critical fixes that we want to push. By the way, the update now has really great treat for Halloween. I mean, I can't wait to test that. So
Yeah, me too. I saw it, but I haven't been able to use it yet. I can't wait to see that. It sounds like fun. And I like when you do fun things like that. I think your customers like that also. But listen, Wassym, thank you very much for coming on. I appreciate it. Hopefully we'll get a chance to talk at some point again in the future when the next wave of important updates come out, or actually maybe when you release some charging information improvements, because that's what I'm really waiting for, to be honest with you. But thanks for coming on. I appreciate it.
all right, let's do that. Thank you, Tom. Thanks.
Bye now. Once again, I'd like to thank Wassym for coming on State of Charge. That was a very interesting discussion, and I'm looking forward to what Rivian has in store for us with over-the-air updates in the future. If you have any questions for Wassym, please leave them in the comment stream, and I'll try to get the answers that you seek. Listen, if this is your first time here at State of Charge, please smash that subscribe button, hit the notification bell, all that good stuff, so you don't miss any upcoming electric vehicle news and reviews. And as always, thanks for watching.